Dr. Rashmi Manjunath live from Bangalore. Dr. Rashmi Manjunath is a renowned skin specialist dermatologist in Whitefield, Bangalore. Doctor has over 20 years of experience in the field of dermatology. Today, Dr. Rashmi will share with us on sunscreen and skin care routine. Welcome, Doctor. A very good evening to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all the participants who have joined in. It's a very, very important topic. So I hope we get the most out of it.
Same here, same here. We are really hoping for a very fruitful session. So to go and to begin the whole conversation, first of all, I'd like to ask you that why should we wear sunscreen? As sunscreen is our focus, right, for today's session. So why should we wear sunscreen every day?
Yeah, every day and also more frequently, because it's just not, people say that I just wear a sunscreen, I use a sunscreen and, my skin is supposed to be healthy, but there's something going wrong and all. But the idea is also to use the sunscreen more frequently. Coming to the question, why? Now, obviously, we are surrounded. Skin is one of the largest organ of the body. I think we all know that. And it is an interface between the environment and the human body. So it is the organ which is actually protecting all the other internal organs from the harsh environmental conditions. And one of the most important environmental conditions that it protects us is the sun. And the sunlight and the radiations which the sun will basically emit. Now, what are these radiations? They are basically UV radiations, ultraviolet light, and also the infrared light, just, to simplify. And in UV, also there is UVA and UVB. And there is UVC, but UVC is actually absorbed in the stratosphere of the atmosphere. So what reaches the earth particularly is the UVA and the UVB. And this has an impact on the skin. Of course, human skin to some extent is capable of handling it, especially in Fitzpatrick 3, 4, and 5, 6, we have certain ingredients which is known as the melanin, which helps us to protect from this UV radiation. But Fitzpatrick type 1, type 2, and all, the melanin is not present. So it is very, very important for us to protect the skin from these UV radiation. So sunscreen is helpful in protecting us from these UV radiation. What these UV radiations will do? It can lead to a lot of cellular damage in the skin. It can lead to, as you rightly mentioned, skin cancers, aging, changes, pigmentation because of the UV damage. So that is what we would like our skin, protect our skin with the help of sunscreen.
Right. You have so well explained the whole theory behind skin and skin damage and how sunscreen is helpful for a common man's perspective. Thank you so very much for that. Now, moving ahead, whenever we go for sunscreen, we know there is a term called SPF, abbreviation rather, called SPF. Now, why we should know about it while choosing sunscreen, and foremost, what does SPF level mean?
Yeah, very good question. So SPF is basically the sun protection factor. So as the name suggests, sunscreen, there is a sun protection factor. So we need to be aware what is the sun protection factor of each and everything. And it's like when you wear a sunscreen, how much it protects or how much, say, the damage is happening, how long, basically terms on the duration. And then we have something, and it is calibrated against something when we don't wear. So that is how it is calibrated. And it basically is the number of times the particular ingredient or a particular thing can protect us from the sun. So right now we also have a lot of sun protective clothing for that matter. And to take it further, even a cap has an SPF of 4. An umbrella has an SPF of about 15 or 10 to 15 is the range. So these, every thing that we are like, even a shirt for that matter, or a cape or a mask or something, they will protect us to some extent from the sun. So SPF basically means the sun protection factor. So typically sunscreens are graded, and we see some people, can get enthusiastic about it when they see something which is 15, they're not very happy. When they see something about 60 or 70, then they're very happy. But ideally, it should be anything above 30. And in a tropical climate like ours, or in a very sensitive skin, we can go to 50, etc. But 30 is, the studies have shown 30 will actually protect your skin from the sun by 93%. And let's say a 40 will protect only by about 95%. And 50, so on and so forth. There's no 100% protection. So let's be very, very clear that it's very difficult to protect ourselves 100%. We are trying to minimize the damage by using a sun protective clothing or sunscreen or various other things. So that's how we need to take it up.
Interesting trivia about that. Clothing is also SPF, so
Absolutely.
it do protect us. Definitely. That was a very interesting trivia indeed. Doctor, whenever we think of applying sunscreen, there is always a question in our mind, and that is how much to apply, how much quantity of sunscreen do we need, and how often we need to reapply it, because it get washed away by maybe sweat or whenever we just try to pat our skin, etc. So how much quantity of sunscreen we need to apply, and how often do we need to reapply?
Yeah, both are important questions, but I also have one question. Should we be using sunscreen indoors, or should we just keep it for outdoors? The name says sunscreen. So should it be kept only for indoors, outdoors?
I would love to answer it, because now I know that even when you are inside, you need to, protect yourself from all the light sources. Even the laptop I'm using, the lights that I'm using right now are affecting my skin. So thankfully, I have applied sunscreen.
Absolutely. So it's not just the sunscreen, like, I know we had the term, sunscreen is being used as a term per se, but we should consider light as a source. So that is what we are protecting with. So we have these blue lights, we have the infrared radiations, which is coming from heat. So all those also the skin needs to be protected from. So basically there is something called oxidation reaction, which happens in the skin because of all this. It's like keeping, you remove the skin of an apple, you keep it outside, there will be a coating of brown coating which happens. Yes. So that is called oxidation reaction. Even an iron rod for that matter, or so on and so forth, things which can get oxidized. So that is something what we need to prevent our skin from, the oxidation reaction, because in a colored skin like ours with it is 3, 4, and 5 Fitzpatrick, the tendency for these melanin pigmentation to get stimulated because of this oxidation reaction is high. So we tend to get more pigmented by using, by exposing ourselves to different sources of light. So that means that we need to use sunscreen throughout the day, and preferably I would suggest every 2 to 3 hours, get used to it. Application of sunscreen every 2-3 hours, irrespective of us going out, because nowadays with work from home, we are in front of our devices also more, and these devices are kept very close to us. I think we understand that mobile phones or even the laptops and desktops, we keep it very close to us. So that also makes has a very significant role in damaging the skin. So let's not think that sunscreen needs to be used only when we are exposing it to the sun or exposing our skin to the sun, but it's also to be used indoors, and it has to be used more frequently, every 2-3 hours. Yes, if you are going out, please use it 20 minutes before you go out. It's very important to get the sunscreen activated. Some people even suggest if you are going out in a really sunny area and things like that, then it should be used much more earlier for the sunscreen to get activated, and that's when we should be using. So 20 minutes before you go out, and use it more frequently, and even indoors is very important to get the best benefit out of sunscreen.
Yes, so even if the name is sunscreen, is basically a light screen protection.
Yes.
And Right, right. And doctor, the first part of it, how much quantity of sunscreen? Because people many a times
Yes.
say that, you know, peanut, a pea size sunscreen
Yeah.
is enough for your skin. Or is it fine, or do we need to apply we should make sure that the whole area is covered?
Yes. So it's very important that we, of course, work on face is normally the most, common area that we use the sunscreen for. And approximately around 3 ml should be the quantity that you should be applying every time. Do not forget the neck, because that's another area. And I strongly recommend people to use it in all the exposed areas, especially the arms and forearms and things like that. Other exposed areas will require approximately around 6 ml of sunscreen. So this is the normal, the studies have been conducted, and these are the optimum quantities for the sunscreen to be used and to be effective.
Okay, as you have just mentioned, effective. How is the effectiveness of sunscreen measured?
Yeah, very, very good question. So there are a lot of lab data which are, conducted. I was also, I had the opportunity where I was part of many of these studies wherein we had conducted tests depending upon the different sunscreen and how does it, react to the sun when the subject is actually exposing themselves to sun. We've done internal analysis. So the skin has been actually taken off and it has been microscopically analyzed and things like that. So most of the sunscreen which are there in the market are coming up, especially the medical sunscreen, which as dermatologists we prescribe, come with a medical data to back it up. So first of all, it's very important to get the skin analyzed by the dermatologist, because they will be the best people to work on what is the most effective sunscreen for you, depending upon the different areas of improvement that we want out of the sunscreen. So typically we would want something which is non-comedogenic, which doesn't cause acne. It's easier for application, repeated application. It should not cause an hindrance. Cosmetically and aesthetically, definitely pleasing. We don't want a Steve Bohr kind of look or a Simon's kind of look happening on the lip and things like that. We don't want those. So these are some things which, we always keep it in mind when we are prescribing the sunscreen. Sunscreen should always have a physical part and a chemical part, now also known as organic and the inorganic part. And the organic part is something which will absorb the the light radiation and the UV radiation and things like that. And it will change its chemical structure and not allow these UV radiations and the light and various other things to go deeper in the skin and cause the damage. Whereas the other one, which is the inorganic part, is something which will scatter the light. So we typically want something which is a combination. And children, we always prefer, because that is a very, very important thing that I think eventually we'll also tackle sunscreens for children during this talk. But we normally prefer their inorganic part of, a physical sunscreen, in other words, which contains ingredients like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide and all that. So just to give a brief on these. So ideal sunscreen is something which is suitable for your skin, and your skin is unique in its own way. So it's very important to customize it according to the, the skin type that we all have.
Yes. So, doctor, what I can derive from what you just said is medicated sunscreen is better. B,
Yes.
go to a dermatologist before going and buying a sunscreen by yourself. So, if I need to choose a sunscreen for myself, I want the best one, definitely. What should I do? I mean, despite of all the advertisements that's there on the television and everywhere else where good brands are giving us really good sunscreen with good SPFs, shall I go for that, or still you want me to go and consult to my dermatologist?
Yeah, I would strongly recommend that, because as I said, the uniqueness of the skin is, it's an extremely unique structure, and we need to give it that respect. And so every part of the body, the skin is also different. So there might be some sunscreen which we are able to use on the face, but we cannot use it for our hands, and so on and so forth. So these are very important to be discussed by the with your dermatologist. So we need to take that time and give it that importance, because sunscreen is a product which has to be used for a very long time, and it is not something that one is using only for a month or 2 months or 3 months. It is a constant feature in your skincare regimen. It needs to be started early as well. It's not something that we can just forego by saying oh, we'll start it when we have the condition to deal with. So it's more preventive in its as a molecule, as a product. It's more preventive. So that is the importance of using the sunscreen. You can prevent a lot of things when we use a sunscreen. So that is something which we have to keep it in mind. And as skin by itself is a very, very dynamic organ, and we need to address it that way. So there will be some times when we'll have let's say an acne tendency, or having more pimples, or there will be times when it gets more dry. Again, environment plays a very important role. Summers you might need a different sunscreen, winters you might need a different one, right? So we need to be more specific in what we are using, and we'll also have to be more dynamic and be open to products. There might be sunscreen that we might use for some time, and then we would like to change it. Yes, I mean, definitely. So for all those things, it's very important to understand our skin, know our skin better, what can cause what, and then depending on it, pick up the product, because it is by far, I feel, the most important product in our skincare regimen.
I completely second your thought. Sunscreen is our skin's best friend forever. So, and as you have very rightly said, that's one thing that we are going to use for the maximum amount of time and we are continuously reapplying. So definitely,
Absolutely.
If before choosing, please consult your dermatologist. Don't just get carried away with all the advertisements that you have seen. And please consult your dermatologist, because every skin is different. Your skin's needs are different. Dr. Viva, also, you just mentioned about children. Thus, I would like to know that which sunscreen are best to use on children, and can we use sunscreens on infants as well?
Yeah, very good question. We prefer more of sun protective measures, like sun protection is definitely a key in using for children also, in infants also. It could be in different forms. It could be in the form of clothing, or not exposing to the sun, a very, very harsh sun, and that kind of thing. But typically we like to use any product depending upon how the skin is, say after 6 months, depending upon the activity the child undergoes. But after 6 months, we prefer using a product per se like a sunscreen, and it should be more of a physical sunscreen or an inorganic sunscreen where the light is getting scattered. And we should not forget in children, face, neck, arms, forearms, and also the feet. That's also important. And especially some of the children get into swimming and different outdoor activities, and it's important for them to use the sunscreen. My suggestion, of course, is also to use a moisturizer along with the sunscreen when we are using the sunscreen. There are some of them available with an inherent moisturizing capability. Those could also be used. And but do use a moisturizer, and keep it. And if you are exposing the child to sun, it could be a holiday on the beach, or so on and so forth, then do use those extra measures like a cap or something. And even if not, then moisturizer or a mild cleanser should be carried, so that the skin is not kept irritated. The skin should not get irritated. So it's very important to look at the calming the skin. So,
yeah, we are normally very concerned about the products we are using on our children, on our infants, and thus I think even for a sunscreen, again we need to first consult our dermatologist that what will suit my baby. before
Yes,
we actually go for
absolutely.
it?
I think, yeah, very, very true. And because again, children's skin is very different from an adult skin, and the oil glands, and there are a lot of things which are not very activated. The barrier function of the skin is not completely formed. So the chances of they developing dermatitis or irritable skin is slightly more. Tanning also becomes a bit more because we are not very enthusiastically using sunscreen. I don't, it's not too much of a concern because they also have a good rejuvenating capabilities. The skin has good rejuvenating capabilities, but it needs a bit of care in terms of using a good moisturizer, very important to keep the barrier function of the skin intact. And also to use a mild cleanser during those times. And another very, very important thing is to drink a lot of water. I think that's very critical. We need to also hydrate our skin more because obviously there is going to be some amount of sweating or dehydration and all that when children get exposed to too much sun. So these are some things which can be taken care of, and that could help a lot.
Right. So you just mentioned that we need the mild cleanser, we need moisturizer. I think the same stands for the adults as well. And in that case, what should be the chronology? Definitely, I need to clean my skin. That's the foremost, that's the first thing. But then what should I do? First moisturize, then apply the sunscreen, or use the sunscreen, or what should be the chronology?
Yeah, very good question. And yes, as adults, yeah, our skin we get into a layering mode. We get used to a layering mode where we, start layering different products and things like that. The rule that normally I like to tell all my patients and followers is that, we should always, the first layer should always be a hydrating product or a moisturizing product, because that will help in firstly, of course, keeping the skin healthy, and it also imbibes the different other products that we would be using. The sunscreen normally should be the last thing. It's like a jacket or a clothing that, you're trying to protect. So it should always be the last thing that we should apply. Never do the other way around, because you're diluting the effect of, both the products. So it's like no use of either of them that you've invested yourself in. Apart from that, I strongly believe that we should always be using some antioxidants. So vitamin C is one of the important antioxidants which should be used in order to manage whatever is the oxidation which is happening. That also can to some extent be prevented. So idea is that we don't want to overwhelm the skin with these oxidative product. We call it reactive oxygen species. So when these reactive oxygen species become more and more, then the body's capability of scavenging them. So always our bodies are, they have these scavengers which will actually take care of them and not allow them to cause damage to the particular, tissue that we are dealing with. So in this case, of course, the skin, those scavengers should not get overwhelmed by these products. And that is where we need to support our skin. So these using antioxidants and probably taking antioxidants and things like that, which I think the dermatologist will be more able to guide a particular person. But typically that's how I normally follow. And in the night also, because that's again a time when we are not really hampering with our face. We are it's more relaxed, and 8 hours of sleep where nothing is happening. Even the exposure to sometimes, light is not there in many scenarios. Again, a good time to use certain products which will help in the healing capabilities. So one is, of course, again, vitamin C based healers, but there are also a lot of other healing products which are available, which will, help you to heal and go, basically be helping you to face the next round of oppression.
Whatever hurdles are there.
Hurdles, yeah. So it's not just defending the product, which is basically what sunscreen is doing. It's your main defense, but it's also nurturing that defense, and taking care of whatever damage has happened. So these are some things which are very important. Do not forget your diet, like take a lot of antioxidants. So we have a lot of questions where people say that, my sunscreen is actually causing a lot of darkness. I'm using sunscreen, but yet there is darkness. Do we see that kind of questions happening? Like, normally this is what we get to hear when we are counseling them on our these things on sunscreen. So darkness, again, you have to then review your sunscreen. You have to see whether that sunscreen has the capabilities, or make those changes of using it more often, taking the application of antioxidants, moisturizers, if that helps the sunscreen. And also in your diet, drink a lot of water, take in a lot of antioxidants, like all the red and the yellow fruits, and even for that matter, tomato, which has lycopene, which is a natural sunscreen. So these are some things which can, balance it out.
Right. And also, like you said, that sunscreen should be like a jacket. So if I'm going out with a little makeup, what do you think? Then what should be the chronology? Then where should my sunscreen get it?
Yeah. So most of the makeup actually have ingredient called zinc oxide, or typically actually titanium dioxide, or it can also have ferrous oxide, which is an iron kind of component, which gives it the color. So we are happy that you use it. All of us do it, and we are happy that you do it. But use a sunscreen, and then over that we could apply the makeup. So do not forget your sunscreen, because even if the sun rays, because all the other makeup products are more inorganic, so they're going to reflect light, but some of the light can still come inside, and that is when the issues can happen, and the chemical change in the skin can happen. So in order to prevent that, you can have also sunscreens which can have a chemical based, or what we call it as inorganic. But the thing is that the inorganic sunscreen, there are a lot of them which work also as primers. So we have in makeup something called primer, wherein on top of it, wherein we apply the makeup, isn't it? So there are a lot of sunscreen which have that feel of primers. So you can probably have a word with your dermatologist to find out what are those, and that can be used. So you can also start layering the sunscreen depending upon the condition that you have, also depending upon what is the type of your skin and how it is. So if you have more drier skin, so you can use a slightly moisturizing based sunscreen, and along with it you could use the primer sunscreen, and followed. Then there are, of course, just to take it a bit further, there are also a lot of mists which are available, which have certain blue light protective capabilities. So after the makeup, you can also spray those, which will just give you that more added protection. So it's all about just adding as much as you can. So
Right. And doctor, there are so many formulations of sunscreen that is available, like spray, cream, gel, lotion. How to choose the suitable one for the individual skin? Does it depend on the skin type?
Absolutely, undoubtedly. The skin type, the type of skin you have, whether it's just an acne-prone skin, is it a drier skin? It depends on the climate. It depends on where you're you will be using it maximum to, and how's your lifestyle, so on and so forth. And whatever works for you, like as dermatologists, we keep testing these products. We feel that we should also because we should be aware of what we are prescribing. So it's very important for me as a dermatologist that I try all the product to see the efficacy of each of them, and then prescribing it to my patients, and so on and so forth. So basically they can be just sticks available, which you can just apply, or if you have certain areas which are more prone to sun damage or light allergies, or those kind of things, you can use it on those areas. So anything, any permutation combination can be achieved in the current scenario. So the technology is wonderful right now versus what we used to have earlier. And I think that is what we need to do. We need to work with the technology to get the best out of it.
Yeah, very well said. I'll take few of our viewers' questions now. Nisha Sharma is here. Hello, ma'am. Does sunscreen expire?
Of course, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, yes.
Yeah, please keep an eye for the expiry
Absolutely.
date, Nisha.
Yeah.
Palak Dubey is asking, ma'am, UVA and UVB lights में क्या difference है?
Yeah, the wavelength is the difference and what it can have an impact on. So UVA actually has more penetration and it causes more, what we call it as the photo aging and light allergies and things like that. So it penetrates more deeper, and UVB causes more of a acute damage. And skin cancers and all these sunburns can happen more with UVB. So that is the difference. And typically sunscreen will have to have, initially there were more UVB based. Now you have always a combination where it is UVA and UVB protective.
Right. Archana Sen is asking, is sunscreen the most important step in skincare?
Absolutely, undoubtedly. Undoubtedly. And all of us, I think, as dermatologists, we agree to it. We go to an extent that we always say, all of us, like world over, that even pigmentation, someone who comes with pigmentation and they say we will not use sunscreen, we will have to say that, we will not be able to treat pigmentation if a person doesn't use sunscreen. So it's that important in a person's skincare regimen.
And in the beginning, I have already stated that the survey says that 67% of people in India are not using sunscreen. I think that's really contradictory because all the dermatologists are, united on this, that sunscreen is the most important part of your skincare, but still 67% of people in India where heat is really one of the things that keeps on damaging our skin, and we are still not using sunscreen. What is the thought process that people, that stops them from using sunscreen? Have you ever come across, doctor, any patient who have told you why they are not using sunscreen?
All the time. And one of the most important things they say is that, it leads to more sweating. More sweating happens. Any sunscreen I use, it sweats a lot. I feel very uncomfortable. Second thing is that they say that it is making my skin more darker. It's not causing, it's not really helping me at all, and so on and so forth. People who use makeup or something, then they say, I cannot use makeup. So there are a lot of prejudices and also perceptions which are already existing, and that is something which we need to be basically taking off from.
Right. So our advice to the viewers is definitely, if you are not using it, you have not used sunscreen yet, please go first and see your dermatologist. Understand what your skin is like and what it needs, and buy the best sunscreen as per their recommendation, and start using it right away. We'll take a few more questions. Rohit Khanna is asking, is spray sunscreen okay to use?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Spray sunscreen, the one that we can spray.
Absolutely. There's some very, very good sprays in the medicated genre itself, which is available. So there are a lot of good ones which are available. Definitely can be used. Absolutely.
Okay. Soumya Shukla is asking, which SPF sunscreen is good for dry skin?
It is not about dry skin there, Sapna. It is also about what is your activity and how are your things and all that. So generally I recommend anything around 50, and there could be a moisturizing sunscreen. There could be a moisturizer based, or we ask the patients to apply the moisturizer and then followed by sunscreen. So it just depends. So anything around 50 is what is a good one. Normally it could also be 30, which is also good one, 30 to 50, 55 and things like that, which is fine.
Okay. Nilesh Singh is asking, what level of SPF should I wear? I think that's a very common question. You know, we don't know what SPF is good for us, but I think you have already answered it and addressed this
To
topic.
pick up
Still,
anything which is around 30 to 50 plus, I mean 55 and all, and it's very important to basically apply it more frequently. I think that is the key there. Do not think that, oh, I'm wearing say an SPF 70 and now I can just stand in the sun for half an hour and nothing is going to happen. That's not going to work out that way. You have to use it and you have to allow it to get activated and then use it more frequently.
Okay. Palak Dubey is asking, मुझे स्किन को हेल्दी रखने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए? What should she do to keep her skin healthy?
That's I think one of the foremost thing is I think go and pick up a good sunscreen, and before that I think consult a good dermatologist, get a customized skin care for yourself, know your skin better for yourself, because as dermatologists we are trained for that. And I think that those are some basic steps. But apart from that, also drinking a lot of water. Normally around 3 liters is very, very minimum, quantity that we all should be consuming. And make your diet rich in all the antioxidants, especially tomatoes, which will also keep you healthy. So all the red, yellow fruits. So these are some basic tips that you can start initially, and then have a customized skincare regimen.
Yes, so start all those basic things, but please do not underestimate the power of sunscreen. Shruti Nigam is asking, क्या गर्मियों में सिर्फ gel based sunscreen ही लगानी चाहिए? So in summers, should we only stick to gel based sunscreens?
Yeah, I think gel based are always better because you are more. I think it has a bit of coolant effect, so you feel much better about it, and you can apply it more frequently. So anything which makes you comfortable to apply more frequently, I think that is the key there. And it's not just about oh, I'll pick up this gel or that gel. There are some gel based which can make the skin drier, even in summers and things like that, where the climate can be dry. So it also depends on how your skin is behaving through the whole thing. So check it. Do you like it? Then do the mix and matches. Apply a moisturizer, then apply it. And even if that doesn't work and you're not happy with it, then obviously you'll have to shift to something else.
Right. To move on, we have Madhuri Soni. She is asking, is the sunscreen in makeup or moisturizer enough to give me protection against the sun?
Yes, I mean, before the makeup, yes. I mean, definitely use a sunscreen. As we discussed, there are a lot of sunscreens which are available, which has a very light finish, a primer kind of finish, which can be used. And that should help a lot.
Right. I think she is trying to ask, you just mentioned that there are makeup products as well that have a little bit of sunscreen protection in them. So are they enough to give us a protection against the sun?
Yeah. So we always come to that conclusion that okay, we are using makeup and now we don't need sunscreen. No, we need a sunscreen because as we discussed, the makeup products contain the inorganic sunscreen, which will basically reflect the light. So, but it can't really reflect all the light. So there will be some light which can get in and then cause an oxidative damage. And that's what the chemical sunscreen would, prevent. So it is very important to use a sunscreen which has inorganic or an organic variety and then top it up with the makeup.
Right. So no matter what, please don't skip your sunscreen. Sonia Iyer is asking, should I put sunscreen on my lips?
Yeah, very, very, very important.
Right.
Lip is again a very, very, very different kind of structure than the face. And it's a very sensitive structure. Again, many products which you're also using a lot of products on the face, like on the lip, like lipsticks and all that, which can have an impact. So yes, there are sunscreens which are made especially for the lip. So pick up those products which are made for the lip and which will help in nourishing your lip, keeping it well moisturized and preventing a lot of pigmentary changes also, which can happen. So yes, very, very, very true and a very good question. So thank you for bringing this up. Yeah.
So Ishita Jha is here asking, I get acne due to heat. Which sunscreen should I apply?
Yeah, there are a lot of them which are available, which are especially meant for acne prone skin. There is acne UV gel, a very good product by far, a light on the face and especially meant for, these acne prone skin. So, and there are many other which are non-comedogenic. So it should always be written non-comedogenic product. So that is what you need to see when you're buying the sunscreen.
That's a keyword that you should, see.
Yes.
Right. Shivendra Singh is asking a very generalized question again. Ma'am, please suggest best sunscreen for glowing and shiny skin.
Yeah, that's a very good question also, but yeah, it needs a lot of work. Skin care is a commitment and it is a work in progress. That's what we need to remember. It's a constant work and be dynamic. The skin is dynamic. You also need to be dynamic in terms of what you eat, what you apply. And so all those matter a lot.
You have already mentioned that even any part of clothing has some SPF, sun protection factor. But there are people who love to cover them up with clothing but do not use sunscreen because they feel that clothing is giving them better protection from the sun. So why not just cover up with clothing instead of using sunscreen? Is there, a point of discussion? So please elaborate on this a little.
Yeah, so clothing will be just like a physical form.
Right.
It's just going to probably reflect and protect you from the light or whatever. But it is also very important that whatever light gets absorbed, and the SPF of each clothing varies. We do have protective clothing right now, which has an SPF of 50 or a cap which has an SPF of 50, but they are just going to protect. They're going to be just in a physical aspect. But what you need is something, the light when it goes through, it should be able to prevent that deeper penetration of the light and the damage which light is causing. So that is where our chemical sunscreens come into picture. Secondly, when we are indoors, what happens? We can't cover ourselves to the extent, like let's say the face, when we are working and things like that. So we need those exposed areas to be protected as well. So it's not just the sun we are talking about. We are also talking about light in general, and especially even the blue light, the light from the mobile phones and the laptops and the desktop that we're working with. And to that extent, even the light, the ceiling lights and all that also. So it's very important for us to use the sunscreen. People who do have, we call them sun allergy, or what we have medical terms like PMLE, polymorphic light eruptions, and even photodermatitis and things like that. We do tell them that, use the sunscreen and then use the protective clothing. So that is also has a role to play, like, especially if you're also going to very hot climate or, let's say near the equator or something like that and all that. So you need where the light rays are really, sun rays are very, very strong. So also certain times of the day, like, 12 noon, if you're getting out, also use those protective clothing, not just rely only on the sunscreen to work. So it's just a, both of them working in synchrony and in symbiotic kind of manner to protect yourself. So the aim and focus should not be, we should not deter ourselves from the focus that the skin requires protection, and it will require protection if required. We use sunscreen and we use the clothing to our benefit.
Right. So use clothing, layers, but also do not skip your sunscreen. Nisha Abhishek Patel is asking, ma'am, due to very busy lifestyle, I'm not using many products. So kindly suggest basic skincare and working schedule.
as we discussed, the main product that we should have, and we should not be using is something called, it is sunscreen. So that definitely should be part of a skincare regimen. Apart from that, use an antioxidant like a vitamin C, because body does not produce vitamin C, especially human bodies will not be able to produce vitamin C. So we need to supplement it with that vitamin C, either at the skin level where we want it to work or at the body level. So vitamin C product, which will also work as an antioxidant, is very important. Apart from that, a very good moisturizer, which is suitable for your skin. So it could be a gel-based moisturizer, it could be an oil-based moisturizer, lipid-based moisturizer. All those are also very important. So these three things, if we are able to, take care of, I think it will show its benefit.
Right. So very basic things like cleanser, first of all, then a sunscreen, of course, a moisturizer, and vitamin C for your skin rejuvenation. Sarika Ghamal is here. Do I really have to reapply sunscreen through the course of the day?
Absolutely. Every 2 hours without fail. And do not forget the other areas of the body. It's not just the face or the neck. Do use it on your hands and other areas also. So do not neglect those areas as well. And if you have certain problem areas, you have pigmentation in some areas of your face or something, be more, active on those areas, and it can be used in those areas more.
Right. Advik Singh is here, and he is asking that my question is, which sunscreen is best for acne-prone skin? I think we have already answered this question, but still, just in a nutshell, if you would like to say anything.
Most important word that you have to, look at for a sunscreen when you have acne-prone skin is to use a non-comedogenic product. So that is very critical. Even in your makeup or something, you need to see that word non-comedogenic, and then only you can pick up those. So those are some, that is a very important thing to look at. Of course, I have the other questions which keep coming to me because of sunscreen is that I have vitamin D deficiency. Should I be using sunscreen? Because we all know that vitamin D is made in the skin by the exposure to the sun.
Right.
So this is a very typical question, and many people don't use sunscreen because of this. They say we have vitamin D deficiency, or it will lead to vitamin D deficiencies, and so on and so forth. So just to clear up the matter, there is a lot of data which has been collaborated, and it has been shown that it is not just the sun which is important. It's also how your skin is in order to produce that vitamin D. So it depends upon the genetics of the skin. So that is very critical. There are lot of studies which have been conducted, even in traffic policemen who've been outside in the sun, and they have found to be, vitamin D deficient. So, and sunscreens just protect you, a certain factor. It is not that, you're not allowing the light to just pass through at all. There will be some light which will pass through, which is enough for the skin to produce the required quantity of vitamin D. But it depends upon the genetics of the skin as to how it will produce vitamin D. So please do not, take that as an excuse of not using a sunscreen.
Right. So don't go for any prejudices or any myths. Just stick to what your dermatologist is saying. Doctor, as we are coming to the almost to the concluding part of this session, what else should we know about sunscreen, and what else can we do to protect ourselves from the sun? And anything that you would like to talk to?
The other thing which normally I come across in my practice is that there are people who go for walks in the morning, and they say, sun is not very harsh, I don't want to use a sunscreen at that time. That's another time, and we should never do that. Always when we're stepping out, we should use a sunscreen to step out and give it some time for the sunscreen to get activated. It's not that we apply the sunscreen and immediately we go venture out. So give it that required duration to get activated. The second thing is there are a lot of sunscreens which also help in healing the skin. So look into those products also in terms of helping your skin manage the damage which is caused by light per se. So we have sunscreens which are blue light, we have sunscreens for acne prone skin, we have sunscreens which are healing. So there are sunscreen with moisturizers which are available, especially a moisturizer called HA, which is the normal moisturizing content of the skin. So these are some things that we should always be looking out for. Also, if we have a family history of pigmentation and melasma and things like that, make sure that you start using your sunscreens early, and also use sunscreens in pregnancy, because that's again another time when we tend to, because of the hormonal changes, there can be pigmentation which can happen. It has been shown that 40% of melasma pigmentation at a cellular level, we are talking at a very cellular level, 40% reduction happens in the pigmentation. So that's by just using sunscreen. That's how important sunscreen is if we are prone for pigmentation. So these are some things which we can think of, and do not neglect your diet and water intake.
Right. So do not neglect your diet, your water intake. A healthy lifestyle indeed is very essential for a healthy and glowing skin. But please do not skip your sunscreen, and do include it in your skincare regime if you have yet. That was such a fruitful session. Thank you so very much, Dr. Rashmi Manjunath, for your valuable time. It has been very informative for our viewers. I'm sure it is great to hear you, and we really look forward for many such sessions for our viewers in coming time. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. And of course, we are very passionate about the topic. So, we are also happy to have this session.
Right. We'll definitely connect again. And thank you, viewers, for your participation for today's in this session. If you want to consult Dr. Rashmi Manjunath, you can book consultation on Dr. Rashmi's Skin Clinic @gmail.com. And for more update, you can visit her website www.drrashmiskinhairlaserclinic.com. Dr. Rashmi Skin Hair Laser Clinic.com. And thank you, viewers, for an excellent participation. For more information and updates on skin care, stay connected on our FB page, Beautiful Spotless Skin. We are also available on YouTube, Twitter, and Insta. Thank you, and good day to all of you.